I like that.
Don't have that instinct automatically, because remember, some of this stuff is genetic. They either have it or they don't, right? This is what it's all about, people. Attack the boy! He must know that I'm in the dog fight with him. I'm next to him side by side. We have a bond that's unbreakable. Boom. Mark, so go ahead and click live on your Instagram. Thank you.
Already did. You're ready. You're ready to rock and roll.
Thank you. Hold on for a minute. Let me expand this. Damn, how do you do that? Okay. I'm back. But it was crazy. How do I hate this. Here we go. Got it. People, come on in. We got NK in the house. Come on in.
Welcome, welcome.
Yeah. So now we're gonna let people get an opportunity to come in. And I need to click this link in. Invite people. Copy. Hey, how do you want to go live on TikTok on the same time? Or how do we with the phones? But
I'm already going live with Instagram and YouTube. I got some people over on my side already chiming in.
Yeah, I'm going live on Facebook, personal Facebook dog, YouTube, this other site called
Kick.
It's Twitch.
Yeah, Twitch. That's for more gaming.
Yeah, I'm going live on that. I'm going live on the Instagram Doberman stuff. And you're going live.
Yes,
We're all
sir.
going live. So Mark, thanks, man. That's I know it was a last minute notice, but man, I had such a good time yesterday that we had to really, really talk about it.
Yeah, it was fun. It was great.
It was fun. I feel bad that you took better pictures of my dog than I took yours. Hey, what was that? Why was the videos darker that you posted that I took?
Well, the reason why is because sometimes it's not calibrated when you're using it. So we always have to understand our equipment sometimes. And this is the first time you're using this camera, this Sony. So, sometimes you have to just use the aperture and the ISO.
So did you have it preset it before you gave it to me?
I had it preset it for pictures. So when I told you can take pictures in the front and then you can use the video record button in the back, that's what you're doing. So it wasn't set, and I can always tweak it. And which the pictures actually came out really good, and the video came out good. I just had to go through Lightroom a little bit, and tweak it a little. But no, they were all good, man. I liked how you got in the decoy in the dog's face up close.
How you doing? I was talking to my wife. That's Stephanie, your name? Yeah, that's her name.
Crazy.
Yeah, man. So let's get into it. So thanks for showing up yesterday. And I had no idea that Jennings had did your rap. So how does that work when they do your rap thing? It's like he sends you the image, but is it high resolution because it has to be like 1400 by 1600, something like that, as far as pixelations, because the more you stretch the image out, the blurrier it gets. Unless it's
that's correct. Yeah. Right? So first, it's Damon Jennings. I believe he goes under DJ Jennings or something like that. We've done a lot of collaboration with him back in the day, with a lot of our graphic, logos and shirts and different things. He's designed a lot of things for us. So back in the day, I had a smaller van, which was a ProMaster City, and I just had a big decal placed on my hood, and then some, labeling in the back window and stuff like that. And we were getting a lot of hits, man. They say you get 80% marketing when you have a branded car on the street because you're traveling back and forth from work or whatever. Right. So when we decided to upgrade our van and get a cargo van, which now I can carry up to 10 dogs, and not just 2. We reached out to him, and I told him what I kind of wanted. I sent him a lot of different pictures, a lot of different graphics, what colors I wanted. And he got it, and he went through Adobe Shop and he designed it. And, it cost a little pretty penny, but, it was well worth it. So when he sends that over to us, he actually sends all the graphics to the graphic designer who's going to wrap your van. And what we did was we went to Gator Wraps, and they're very, very good if you're going to get anything wrapped. Um, they're very professional. They do tinning as well, but they're right here in Ontario, right here off the 15 freeway, a little south of Bass Pro Shops, I believe. So, but yeah, man, it came out perfect, and you get like a year warranty if any bubbling or anything like that happens. But again, we get hits all the time. People see us on the street and they give us a call. Hey, I seen your van. Give us a call, and yeah, it's fun, man.
Damn. Yeah, man. So I always tell people and you've imported dogs before, Mark.
Yep.
And my system may be similar to yours, but we all have a common cause, and which is to make sure our dog is good health-wise, and that he or she fits the program. So I've already, once I imported them, first thing I do, I have William come, take him to the I followed William to the vet because he works at the vet, and then I get him microchipped all over again because that microchip is insignificant over here.
Yeah.
I can't compete him with an out of the country chip. It has to be with the U.S. companies here, like Home Again and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
I get him microchipped. I get him all his shots start over again, so I can have my own book of records.
Yep.
And a fecal sample. That is important, right? Now he had Giardia. Didn't see he had Giardia. Didn't even know. But we had the opportunity to address it, and I have a whole jar of Panicure at the house, right? And so, health-wise, that was what we were checking out. Now, what he was bought for, we had to go to Adrian because I'm doing ring sport with this boy, and I'm not going to do all that hokey pokey stuff. I'm going to take it to another trainer and this and that, and just bringing out different things. Even though I still think my method is better, where if I want to build up prey drive, and help with the biting from the back and build up that energy for the rag work. Yeah. I go to Sykes or I go to Lewis.
Sure.
Black Mass, right? And then if I want to start working on scent work, I get with Al.
Sure.
Right. Started working on obedience, I get with Al. Right. And by that time, all the building blocks are like wax on, wax off. All the building blocks are made. So when I do drop them off at Adrian, he doesn't have to start from ground one. However, during that process, you can make some bad imprinting.
Sure.
That is not designed for ring sport. So I kind of I'm going to start going to Adrian every Saturday when I can and work the puppy until it's time to do the board and train. But Adrian said that a puppy should have 3 things: confidence, food drive, and prey drive. Right? If the dog is lacking 2 out of the 3, you may need to reconsider. Right? Now, some dogs don't have a high food drive, but they have a high ball drive, or high tug drive. You can still work with that. Like Titus, he has ball drive, but he has crazy fucking wedge drive or toy drive, right? Guys, we're still trying to figure out which one he likes the best, but he is both even with him right now. So from and I hope Adrian gives me. I hope he gave me the heart, the truth,
Sure.
because I value his opinion.
Of course. That's why
But
I
he
go
told,
to him.
yeah, yeah, but he said, hey man, he's got what it takes. Now
Sure.
I know and he know that nothing's guaranteed during this process,
Mm-hmm.
right? Therefore, I'm willing to take an L if I have to later in the game. But
Mm-hmm.
he's still young. They're still developing. Yesterday was really his first time on grass trying to do some work.
Sure. Sure.
So that was my whole purpose of doing that. But what do you do when you first get a puppy fresh off the boat? Well, in this case, fresh off the plane.
Yeah. So I, excuse me, I believe the same thing. So we always reevaluate our dogs, especially if we're going to import. They got to go through cargo, they got to go through customs, they got to go through all that stuff. And based on the breeder, which I imported from Dijon Drogistic, we always stayed in very good communication. A lot of times
Mm-hmm.
overseas, you don't have that communication with some of these people because of their, the language barrier and things like that. So luckily, he speaks English, so he would always call me and let me know. I told him what I wanted, based off your recommendation to go to him
Mm-hmm.
because that's, I believe, Brody's, grandfather or something like that.
Yeah, his father,
Yeah,
Arthur
his
von
father.
Murkison. Yeah, he was the owner of Arthur von Murkison Leo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah, man. So I was very happy, pleased with the female that we got 7 years ago, 2019, I believe it was, when we imported Artemis. And just like you, we do the same thing. We take them straight to our vet, which is recommended, right? I never
Mm-hmm.
asked him to microchip our dogs, so I never got microchipped. But we did get her pedigree, all the information, health testing that he's done on her. We wanted to confirm that, so we went to our vet that we've been dealing with for forever, and we did a whole evaluation. We did the fecal sample. We even did blood work on her. We also had to do another DNA test through AKC. And then also we did another AKC DNA testing with her through VetGen at the time,
Yeah.
right? Now we use Embark. And then at that time, with all our personal dogs, we always get them microchipped, especially if we're going to do any sport work with them, because that's
Yeah.
the first thing they always check is they check it to see if your dog's microchipped.
Yeah.
And so we do that. And then from there, it was just waiting for her to grow. We desensitize her to a lot of, different scenarios and things like that. I don't try to do a lot of bite work or any things like that with my females, just because I'm so overprotected of her, making sure that she doesn't get hurt or anything like that, during pregnancy. But we do, like scent work. We do like almost like a search and rescue kind of scenarios where we're hiding toys and letting her go find them. She loved water, so she was very water driven. So we pushed her into do a lot of dock diving. So we started going
Yeah.
to April, especially with Deuce being titled in dock diving as well. We pushed her into more dock diving, barn hunting, things of that. And yeah, and she turned out really good, man. And she and Deuce, started producing really nice puppies. So we loved it. And again, you just have to build that trust in that particular breeder because again, they're sending you a dog that you don't even know of, right?
Right. And
At
it's not
least when
like
you're local, you can see them.
yeah, it's not like you can go there and pick one out. People are like, man, I wouldn't buy no dog overseas. I have to go pick my dog out. I said, well, fly over there,
Hmm.
spend your $2,000 or $3,000 flying there. Spend your and then when you get your dog, you gotta pay another $1,000 for the dog to more than $1,000 for the dog to fly back with you.
Yeah,
So you're gonna spend shit, man, with the price of the dog and flying over 10 racks, man, easily. Over
yeah,
10
easy. But yeah, I mean, again, it was a great experience. I even told Dijon, if I have ever imported another dog, I would get it from him
Yeah.
because he does show line and working line, and just like most Europeans out there, they're always competing in conformation, and all the IPG, Schutzen and all the the names out there of the sports. So yeah, I I had a great experience. I would go to him again. I recommend him if anyone wants to, but I know that you're more into importing, so you have more, experience with that. So I always ask you as well. If I'm looking at a particular dog, hey, Gerald, what do you think of this person? What do you think of that? So, I always bounce information off you, as well.
Yeah, man, a lot of people now, man, are going from first base to third base by
Yeah.
importing. Importing, importing. What's my mind going? My mind is dirty. Importing pregnant females.
Hmm.
Now, I don't have a problem with that, but my concerns is that the dogs that most of them are breeding to
Hmm.
are the dogs that I'm not that keen on. They
Hmm.
nice dogs, and they have their titles, their ZTPs, and one
Sure.
may have an IGP and a bunch of confirmation show title. I'm cool with that, but it's hard for me to sell puppies off of parents. Well, not mothers. It's not never hard to sell off of mothers, but it's hard to sell puppies from a sire that's overseas that nobody's never heard of.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
there's a lot of unknowns. There's a lot
yeah,
of unknowns when you're importing, at least, like I said, I always say the proof is in the pudding, man. I don't have to tell you. You just have to see my dog, see what we produced, look at our bloodline, look at the drive, look at the confidence, look at the temperament, all those good things, and that's what I promote. But yeah, in this game, there's no shortcuts, man. And that's what I believe.
yeah,
If you're trying, like you said, going to first base to third base or trying to hit a home run, and this is the first time you're doing it, there's a lot of variables in the game where you don't know. And, have these two produced puppies before. I want to see their puppies. I want to see what they're produced, because do I want to actually breed them again,
right.
or is it just one time done? And then I'm sitting on a female or a male or whatever it is. And then, and again, I can't hold all these type of dogs, even though I love them as pets and things like that. This is what I do for a living, and I want to make sure that we're breeding for the right, the best of the breed, and for the health, number one, with the drive, and like I said, the confidence and all that good stuff.
Yeah. The weird thing, man, is that you know you deal when you're buying pregnant females from a breeder you have done business with, and you're looking for a pregnant female, you're really buying somebody else's female because they're never going to sell you their female pregnant, but they're going to
Mhm.
recommend that you buy this dog, but channel the money through through your breeder you're familiar with.
Sure.
So I had a friend to do that, and the dog is nice,
Yeah,
but
sure.
she never displayed that the dog had this big ass 15-inch scar
Mm-hmm.
on
Mm-hmm.
the side of the shoulder. And I'm not talking about no small scar, more. I'm talking about at least 15 inches.
Wow.
Yeah. And she never presented that, even though it wasn't her dog, it was somebody else's dog that she was selling for. And we know she's getting a kickback on it. No big deal, right?
Yeah.
But, and then by the time the dog gets here, I'm like, wait a minute. Did she disclose that big ass scar on his dog from possibly fighting?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
She only showed the good side, right?
Sure. Sure.
And it was like, I chewed her fucking ass out. I was like, yo, I said, my guy is going to you based off the fact that I've done business with you.
Mm-hmm.
I said, your litters are exceptional, but we're buying this dog from another breeder based off of your recommendation.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, what's the big deal? I said, very big fucking deal.
Yep.
We can't show the bitch. We can't. I mean, that's almost like somebody who has and don't take it the wrong way, people. That's like somebody has a birthmark right here, man, about the size of a golf ball in their face.
Mm-hmm.
You can't miss the shit.
Yeah.
It's not a birth defect. It's a part of the dog. It's a part of your face.
Mm-hmm.
So we accept it, right? Because it's not like something happened after you got born. You were born with it. That's why it's called a birthmark. But when some dog gets fucked up and you selling this dog that has all the supporting documentation to be legit, but then you only giving me the good side of the dog, and when the dog gets here, oh yeah, fuck you. Yeah. No, we buying the dog based off of your recommendation. Your word is supposed to be solid with us.
Sure. And you have to disclose those things. You got to disclose those things, to be honest, just to make sure, because I think we were talking about that yesterday about rehoming dogs. And a lot of times, we always ask, what's the fee? What's the rehoming fee? What's this? What's that? If it's free, we can always find a home real quick. But if you're trying to sell the dog, you're gonna tell us only the good parts and not the bad parts. Like, why are you trying to sell this dog? Why are you trying to rehome him? Why are you try to do this? And again, like, going back to your statement, we're buying the dog for a purpose, right? To show and go, right? In shows, and to be titled and things like that. Just like the person with the scar on their face, 95%, they're not going to be a face model. You know what I'm saying? But there are, things that they can do, but they're not going to do that. And
give me the option. Give me the option to refuse.
Yeah. And just because society looks at like that, certain things like that, and especially in the game that we're in with the dog game, we have to make sure that all those things are disclosed, or, we move on to another dog.
It's bananas, man, because it's the Ukraine is in a time of war right now. And you just can't go to the store and work and bag your groceries and do your manual labor work, whatever the trades are over there. You got to worry about getting fucking killed by a bomb.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no money over there. And we just got to be careful when we're dealing over there with the Ukraine versus Russia right now, man, because people are in a new war that's methodical. It's a much smarter war now, and we got to be careful who we buy for. Are they selling to us because they want to, or are they selling to us because of desperation? And when you're selling shit because of desperation, we can get really, really fucked.
Yep.
Yeah. So.
Oh yeah, most definitely. And again, it's kind of convenient when, like I said, when we're reputable and certain things like that. And I've always, tried to get testimonies from our dogs and stay up to date with every single client that I've ever bred to, and they have one of our puppies, because I want to know, if they have any health issues, if they, or they're trying to get into sport work and, the dog's not showing. I want to know certain things, because down the line, I may not want to breed those dogs anymore, those two dogs. Yeah. But luckily, and I've been blessed, our dogs have always, been really, really good at, based off all the trainers that we went to, because I always recommend all the trainers that we go to, whether it's Sykes or Lewis or Oscar or Larry or whomever, Adrian, Al. I mean, everyone has really based our dogs like, hey, they got it. They have it, but you have the time, do you have the money, do you have the energy to actually go along? Because it takes a long time, a couple of years, to get these dogs dialed in. And people don't have those times, they think it's an overnight kind of thing, a success story, which is not going to happen. Deuce took me like maybe 4 or 5 years to get him dialed in, and to be where he's at. But yeah, man, it takes a while. So, all this portraying and all this good stuff that you see on social media, it's the long game, not the short game.
That is true, man. It's and when people ask me how much is dog, first of all, I'm not a dog trainer, but when people ask me how much is dog training and they want to do a board and train with one of the people that I deal with, I said, if you're looking for $600 or $800 a month for board and train, I'm not giving you his number. That's an insult.
Yep.
This person is cleaning up your dog shit every day. He's working your dog every day. He's responsible for your dog every day. And you're going to pay him $600 to $800 a month for training. So they think, well, I can go online and research it. Well, go.
Yeah.
It ain't the same.
Yeah.
And people are getting away from spending quality money for quality training.
That's right.
Bananas.
That's right. We had a trainer. His name was Mark, and he did a lot of bite work with Andrew. And he used to wear a shirt all the time, and I loved it. It says, "If you think um, um, hiring a bad trainer costs, or you think hiring a good trainer costs, try hiring a bad trainer, because the saying is you're always going to pay double for a bad trainer, right? Because they're going to sandbag you, they're going to, tell you this and tell you that. But a good trainer is going to tell you, okay, does your dog have it? He's actually going to, or she's going to actually train you to train your dog to imprint them the right way. And so that costs, all that information, all that experience, all those proven theories and techniques that they've learned over the years costs, and we're talking about a couple grand for a couple weeks,
Yeah.
So if you're thinking, $600 for the month, you're hiring a bad trainer. I do boarding here, and we do for most of our clients, and I charge a couple $100 per day for just daycare, just feeding them, taking care of their okay, walking them, doing those little basic things, right? But if they want to start throwing in training and stuff like that, I don't got time to do all those extensive training, behavior issues. I got my own dogs to deal with, but we do those particular things, and I have a GPS, and we track the dogs, and they have a really good peace of mind, because the most of all for us when we board is that the people, when they go, they have a good time and they don't have to be worrying about their dog, right?
Right.
So that's the most important for us, is to give them peace of mind, and especially when they keep on coming back, well, we're doing something that they love. So that's what we try to pride ourselves in. But yeah, hiring a bad trainer is going to cost you a lot of money. When they say if you buy cheap, you buy twice.
Yes. Yeah,
There
you
you
got to
go.
fix that shit.
Yeah.
Doug said those county prices hit different. They do hit different because the cost of living is different, but it's all relative. Because what costs $2,000 here a month for board and train, average price or whatever, is like $1,000 or $1,500 down south, and it's like,
sure,
it still hits different.
Yeah.
It's all relative. My question is to you is, like, I saw the big red boy yesterday you had.
Oh,
and
yeah.
that motherfucker's ferocious. Whiskey. Yeah.
Whiskey. That's Deuce's son. So again, Deuce, is Brody's son.
Right.
Alonso's is, grandson. And the reason why I say that, because these dogs are proven, right? You prove them. That bloodline is proven. So I stick to what I know, and that's why I keep on breeding those dogs, because I know exactly what we're going to get out of them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So when we bred whiskey, when we bred Artemis, our red import from Serbia, and then we got a Deuce from from Brody, and we bred. And I seen this boy, I was like, man, I got to keep this guy, because he's showing everything. As a puppy, you start doing desensitizing. You're starting to do, temperament training. We do the Volhard. I'm not sure if anyone knows the Volhard temperament testing. So there's so many different tests that you can
explain that.
So Volhard testing is a temperament test where it's been designed to do certain things with your dog, to see the aptitude of them, right? To see their drive, to see, rubbing their paws. Again, I was telling you that we do Dremel on them at 4 weeks old, so they don't scratch the mom at 4 weeks old when they're eating, so the mom doesn't get mastitis. We're touching their heads, we're picking them up, we're turning them upside down. At 6 weeks old, we bring someone else, because they've been with us, my wife and I, that handle all our puppies for those 6 weeks. So they kind of basically know us, right? They come to us, they do that. So we'll bring my mom in, or we'll bring someone else outside after they've gotten their first initial tests, for parvo reasons. And we'll see how they react to those people. If they come, when they call, rag work, doing a little bite work, doing all kinds of different things. And if anyone wants it, or anyone wants the information, just looks up Volhard. It's VOLHORD temperament testing on the internet, and you can just download all the parameters of what it takes to build your puppies. So basically, we do that same thing with all our litters, and we build them that way. So I believe the clients appreciate that, because when they do take the dogs, at 3 months, 4 months, to an actually professional trainer, their trainer's, oh man, this dog is like sitting, staying, has really good confidence. A lot of, he wants to go after that rag, prey drive,
Yeah.
all those good things, and that's what you're trying to look for. And I think that's what we're trying to do too.
Yeah. Hey man, it's a trip, because still, again, nothing's really guaranteed, but you can definitely you got the magic eye on what you're looking for, and you build on it.
Yep.
My question is what we talk about. We did a breeding recently, right? We did a breeding recently, and we did one with Casanova's daughter, with Titus. I think this is going to be an exceptional litter. Let's talk about it. Tell me what you like about Cass's daughter.
So Casanova's daughter, which is Reaper, she's almost 2 years old now, and probably like a couple more months she'll be 2 years old. And we just did a frozen insemination, TCI, with her, and it was a different kind of thing for me, because I've never done a frozen. We've always done like actual TCI when your male's there.
Yeah.
So it was just a little longer process, but it was good. It was a good experience for me. So with that said, with Reaper, she shows a lot of good signs, because early on we started taking her to our trainers, and we took her to canine school and Socialized Decoy, which is Shane, and she was put up against Mally's, and she was showing a lot more drive and craziness than a Mally did. So Kevin gave me some instructions. Says, look, dude, this girl has fire. She just has too much fire that we have to bring her down instead of building her up.
Right.
So, with that said, and then with Titus's look and everything that, we seen in him, with both of them being put together, I think we're going to have some really, really good puppies with some great drive, confidence, and all that those good behaviors. And again, with all our puppies, we do all the temperament testing. So, I'm sure that we're going to have some good puppies out there.
Damn. And
So,
we bred them on the 13th or the 14th of June.
I have my thing here. So it's the June. It was June 2nd, 4th. So on the 5th. So June 5th is when Reaper got inseminated.
Okay.
So we have 30 more days, which will be July 5th, basically, is when we do the ultrasound.
Which was a couple of days ago.
Yeah. So we'll do that at the end of the week of this upcoming week, and we'll do an ultrasound with her. And you always, again, when you're first breeding your female for the first time, and you don't have the stud on hand, you always want to do 35 to 38 days ultrasound so they can hear heartbeats. And they won't tell you how many puppies you'll have, but they'll confirm pregnancy, right?
That's all we need, man.
Yeah. And as long as you hear one heartbeat, she's good to go, right?
Yeah.
And just based on my experience, and my wife's experience, we can tell our females, and when they're kind of changing a little, their body changes, their mammary glands are getting a little swollen, their teeth are getting a little, bigger, her attitude changes, she's a little more like temperamental, and then again, always around 50, 58 days, we always get imaging, which is x-rays, just to confirm how many puppies we're going to have. So, and it's always plus or minus. I always say plus because, again, I've been blessed. I haven't lost a lot of litters or puppies. If we have 10, we have 10. If we have 8, we have 8. If sometimes the doctor says we're going to have 9, sometimes we have 12. So once the afterbirth comes, that's the final. But every litter's a little different. But you should be having a puppy every hour.
Do you have waiting lists usually?
I'm sorry?
Do you have a waiting list usually?
Yeah. So normally when we breed our dogs, I try to get at least 4 to 5 people on the waiting list that are interested in our dogs, the 2 dogs that we're breeding. in order to breed those dogs, right? Again, as time goes on, the more people will get on that waiting list. But then as time goes on as well, some people will fall off that list, right? So you always have to stay in touch with them. You always have to say, hey, are you guys still ready? Is it the right time? Because there's a lot of times that even people call me and I have to turn them away
Yeah.
because we vet our clients, we vet every person. Sometimes I build relationships with these people up to a year, just to ensure that, the last thing I want to do is take that dog back, right? I will if I have to, and I'll rehome them. But the last thing I want, to do is is to take that dog back. So we try to set
Right.
up our clients with success, right? I want
Yeah.
to know if you have a yard, do you have a proper trainer? Do you have a good vet? All these little questions that we ask just to ensure that this dog is right for you, right? And again, we've been very successful and very lucky with all our client-based owners that they really, really put in a lot of work in their dogs, and I appreciate that. And one thing that's based in our contract is they have to keep me updated by
Yeah.
pictures or by video or, just, hey man, your dog's doing good. They're great with the kids. They're growing
Yeah.
up. Da 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 da. But that's one really, real good thing that I think every breeder should do is stay in contact with your clients and make sure your puppy is growing up healthy. Because again, it's your name on it, right? And your name's everything in this type of business. And so when you're out there, you want to make sure that these people are well taken care of, that they know that they can come to you in any stage of the dog's life, whether it's nutritional, exercise, because these dogs change every so often, right?
Yeah. Hey,
Behavioral issues.
so I noticed, we used to use VetGen a lot. VetGen is out of business.
Hmm.
And now we're using Embark, which is to give us more than what we need. I'm always seeing this positive lead thing in the test. You know what that is?
No, I have really no idea what the lead testing is, but one thing Embark does is they give you too much information.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, as a breeder, every time we DNR test our dogs, we want to look for the major
The
risks,
obvious is one. The
the
obvious
obvious
ones.
risks, to make sure that they're okay to breed, that they're healthy enough to breed, and certain things like that. But they give you 28 pages, man. I mean, they tell you, when their grandfather shit it in this area,
Yeah.
or it's just too much, And basically, a lot of that stuff is okay, good information, but it's not necessary. So normally, I always say, look at the first 2 pages. And as long as the DCM and all that good stuff, the VWD and all the eyes, the ears, the thyroid and all that good stuff, is clear,
Yeah.
and then you should be good to be breeding your female or your male.
Well, that leads me to my second statement. AKC does DCM and all those tests too now. You
Yeah,
notice?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, when you import, you have a different type of pedigree. So you have to actually get them DNA test if you want that AKC
No.
registration.
They're testing for VWD and DCM now for you when you order
Oh,
the health kit. Yeah. Yeah.
oh, really? Okay, nice, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we only used to DNA our dogs
To get a
only
ret
through them
to
when we
have litters.
imported. Yeah,
Yes.
but now, again, just because VetGen used to charge you per test, right?
Yes.
And for Embark, you pay one time, which is I think it's $199 per dog. And again, you're getting 28 pages of information, and they go all over it, man.
Tell
So,
you where the dog origin was and all
yep,
this,
yep,
which is stuff I really don't need, man. I think they're just
sure,
justifying the price. But yeah, people, AKC now does those genetic gene tests as well. I think, but you have to buy the DNA plus that one. They don't make it
yes.
where you buy it separately.
But
You
I
can
think
you
that's
can buy
really,
the DNA kit separately, but if you want the genetic health test,
yeah,
you have to buy both at the same time. You can't split it. So it's like
yeah.
150.
But see, that's one thing I think is good for AKC because it's tied to your AKC pedigree now.
Yeah.
Where Embark, if you test your dog, it's not tied to your AKC. You would have to get a DNA testing through your AKC to be tied. So when you look at your WS number, your AKC number, it says all that stuff, like if you have OFA certification for hips and elbows and things like that, it says it right there, right? It also says DNA number, boom, 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 where if you get it, like I said, from Embark, it's not going to show that. So I think
but it doesn't show the results on the pedigree, does it?
It doesn't show the results on the pedigree. It just shows the actual that they've been DNA tested through AKC, and that they like the OFA certification and all that good stuff. Even if they're titled in any type of sports, it will show it right there as well.
Okay, good. Let's see who got some questions
that's cool.
here. Hello. So that's you right there. Hello from Niminus. Who did that?
I did that early on.
Oh, okay.
Hello.
People, if you want to chime in, I sent the link in there. You can go live. Now, here's the deal. Have your shit together. Have a certain place where you can go live and join us for a few minutes and be on the podcast. If you have something to say, if you have your cell phone, have a Bluetooth. Now, don't come in here with forklift sounds in the background and all this other goofy stuff. Let me see here. Guy said, "What up, Gerald? Watching you from Cape Town, South Africa, home of the Boerboel Masters." Let me see here. Yeah. What up, Mark Gales? Nubius is chiming in. Thanks for joining us, Nubius.
Yeah.
Doberman's OG of the world. Well, we try to be. Oh, you import dogs. How much does the veterinarian charges to vet all the items you vetted in the beginning? Well, for me, Mark, you can answer your question. You can answer too. For me, I think everything is like 150, maybe 200. And that's for all the tests, the microchip, and if they're over 4 months, the rabies shots.
Mm-hmm.
And so about less than 200 for everything. How about you?
Well, if you're going to import dogs, they've already had their rabies shots because they can't be shipped. Back in the day when we imported, it was 3 months. So the earliest that you can, even when I ship my dogs out, the earliest that we can ship our dogs out is 12 weeks. So at 12 weeks old is when we get the rabies shots. Now, I know CDC now, you can't import a dog or ship a dog out until 6 months. Is that correct, Gerald?
6 months. Yeah, 6 months.
Yeah, so I think 6 months. So before they can even fly, the airlines will request certain things that you need to be tested on, right? The health certificate, the rabies shots, all their updated vaccinations, all those good things. So those will come with the dog if you import. Now, if you're just having a local dog and you're paying for all those things, like we would pay again. I don't think I would probably rabies shots my dog again, but rabies, another round of vaccinations. I would do the blood testing, the fecal. So the blood test is probably most expensive. That's probably $140. So I would say roughly for us would be probably, and microchip, which is normally around $50 to $60 through our vet. Now we microchip. So if anyone wants to microchip their dogs, we microchip for $50. But and all the information is sent to home again. But yeah, I would say roughly around $300 to do all your testing again on your dog.
Yeah. Any more questions? I know this was a spur of the moment podcast that we did, the scheduling. It was fun. Man, those photos you took of my boy, man, is fucking dead on, man. You good at that shit. You got the aperture down packed, man.
Yeah, it's all about the camera, man.
Yeah.
I had a great lens on there on my Canon, and it's
you had a long throw lens, didn't you?
Yeah, it's a 70 to 200 millimeter Canon, which is a 2.8 aperture. But this is what most photographers take when they do still shots for sports work, or especially for dog sports. They get really good up and close object, but then everything in the background is a lot blurrier. So, but yeah, really good camera.
Well, look, man, I appreciate you chiming in, man, at the last minute.
Of course. Thank you for asking.
If you guys want to follow Mark, he's on all these platforms. You can find him on TikTok, Nemesis Kennel. You can find him on Facebook, Nemesis Kennel, Instagram, Nemesis Kennel. You should be getting a Spotify.
Well, it's oh no, I have all that, bro. It's all my podcasts, even the podcast that we used to do way back in the day is still on Spotify. I have
Yeah.
on Spotify, iHeart, Apple Radio. If you just want to listen to podcasting, we're on that. If you want to go to our website to learn more about our breeding program, it's nemesiskennels.com. We have a one-stop shop there. The only thing I don't have on there, like Gerald does, is he has a store.
Yeah, you can buy some shit from me.
Yeah, I need to start, putting my merchandise up there, hats, shirts, and all that good stuff.
Get with Miles, man. He plugged it, man. Where it's all done. Even you can go in there and buy a hat or shirt. That's or
awesome.
Lightweight hoodie. Yeah. Hey, Antonio asked a question, Mark. Can you read that?
Yeah. What about VWD? Have you ever experienced that in a female, and how did you handle it? Well, VWD is von Willebrand's disease. If people don't know, it's a blood clotting disease, right? Just like in people, it's hemophiliaism. So sometimes if you do get cut, you may not blood clot or stop. So sometimes you would have to go to the doctors and check it out. I've had a dog get cut with VWD, and we took him to the doctor. It was really nothing big, again, and especially if you have one copy of VWD. It's not a really high risk. But it's always a concern if anything does happen to your dog. If you have VWD2, a second copy, it's a little higher risk, just like DCM2, DCM3. You don't want to breed your dog in type of cases, or you don't want to breed to another male or female that has a copy of that as well, because you're basically ensuring that your puppies are going to have it, right? And again, when you're trying to breed for health, as your primarily goal, especially with us being a preservation breeder, the number one thing is to make sure that these dogs have a long life and longevity of life. So we're trying to get, I think the longevity of Dobermans are 7 to 10 years. We're trying to get over that, right? Now, again, like we always say, nothing's guaranteed. Every dog is different. It also goes along with not even just the breeding, the fundamentals and foundation. It goes along about the owner, right? The owner has a responsibility in this too. Just because you give them a great puppy doesn't mean they're going to take care of that puppy like you would. So they may be feeding them shit.
Yep.
Right. They may not be exercising them. They might not be doing the right responsibilities for these puppies, and they may have a shorter life in the same puppy from the same litter. So that's why we try to vet our clients. We want to make sure it's the right time. Do they have the right environment for the dog to thrive, right? If they need information on nutrition, we always, recommend raw, because, that's what a dog eats. That's what a damn animal eats especially for their breed. So we want to ensure that if you're going to do that, and you can't afford raw all the time, well, give them a high quality kibble, which is a Nook Shook. And if you want a Nook Shook, you go to Gerald, right?
Yeah.
A Nook Shook's really good, especially with a sport dog, because like I think Adrian was telling you, Gerald, with the food drive, right? A lot of times our dogs will come back a little skinnier.
Oh,
than they
little
left.
is understatement.
Yeah. And I always have to feed them steaks and stuff just to build them back up, because, what they want them to do is they want to be receptive to the training.
Yeah.
And when a dog has really good food drive, that means, as the trainer is training, they're going to give them rewards, high value rewards, especially like weaners and things like that. And they want that drive in that dog to understand the mission. So with that said, the dog is a little skinnier because they don't feed him as much. They're working him a lot with treats. And like they say, a working dog, they're working for their food. So, but a Nook Shook is a very high calorie, high protein diet, especially for kibble. And what we try to do is we do 1 cup of kibble with maybe 2 cups of raw, and we make our own raw. We do ground beef or ground turkey. We do, the squash, the carrots, the broccoli. We do spirulina. We do coconut oil. We also put like some sardines as topper. We give them supplements, especially with our females, especially when they're going into the whelping stage. We give them prenatals, postnatals. I mean, man, these dogs are so spoiled, but that's the quality of dogs we have. So we have to
Yep.
do that.
The how to, if a person get two puppies around the same age, can you socialize them together to get along as grown-ups, or is that a intermediate?
Mm-hmm.
Intermediate. Well, if you get two puppies at the same age, hopefully they're from different litters, right?
Yeah. Try to recommend that.
Yeah. But getting two males or two females, listen, if you got a brother or sister, you guys fought growing up. It is what it is. So expect that. But you have to establish dominancy at a very early stage. You don't want your dogs to be scared of you, but you want them to fear you of correction. You don't want to kill their spirit. But can they be, for them getting along had nothing to do with socialization. Socialization has to deal with dealing with the community at large.
Yeah.
Them dealing with each other, there's going to be some rules you're going to have to learn how to not do. Like when they get grown enough, you can't feed them out the same bowl or feed them in the same proximity. You got to cage them up individually to eat their own food.
Especially two males.
Yeah.
Two females.
Yes, I would highly recommend don't let it be your first trial and error, because you're going to get tired of breaking them up from getting at each other.
Well, 4 years ago, I had a client buy 4 dogs from the same litter. Two different owners. So they had a boy and a girl. And I wanted to make sure that they weren't going to breed, all this good stuff. And, and they were going to get them fixed after 2 years. They were just going to be pets. But, man, they've been working out really good for them. So, again, it's what you put into your pet or your dog, to socialize them, desensitize them to all these different behavior issues.
Anubias bloodline. This question is for you, Mark.
Which supplements do you use for your raw when making it? Like supplements? Well, I don't use supplements in my raw. I just use, ground beef, which is normally 83%. The lowest I'll go is 73% of a raw ground beef. And if your dog is not used to raw yet, you can actually cook the ground beef or the ground turkey, right? But don't cook it all the way through, because you're cooking all the nutrients out of it. So you still want to get that raw nutrient out of that base foundation. So we cook it probably like 80%, because you don't want the dog to be having loose stools, having diarrhea. That's why we always recommend, just because we're feeding our dogs this doesn't mean you have to stick to it, but just make sure that you try to give them a high value, high protein diet, but you have to incorporate it for at least a week to 2 weeks, right? Yeah. Because our digestive system is different from the dogs, and you have to acclimate their digestive system accordingly. So you mix your old food, which I give all our clients a big bag of kibble, and they use their own raw and stuff like that. And as they're moving on to whatever they want to feed them, they have to mix that old food, like a cup of that, cup and a half of that, to a cup and a half of the new food for at least a week. At least a week. If you want to go further and do maybe 2 weeks, that's fine. It's only going to give your dog a little more acclimation to their system. And you always want to see hard stools, right? You never want to see soft stools. A lot of times people will give people like the Fresh Pet and things like that. And I always see like loose stools on these dogs, even though it's really good food. It's just so soft. You have to give them some type of a foundation of maybe a little kibble or maybe a more drier food, so they can have more of a solid stool. But yeah, and if you want to talk about supplements, again, we do coconut oil, we do spirulina, which is a super based algae based powder that we always give our dogs. We even use it on ourselves. We even
what does spirulina do for dogs?
So it's a great coat. It's longevity of life so they're giving you all the nutrients, the pre and probiotics that you need in their food, in their diet. Just like coconut oil does the same thing. It's a
Mm-hmm.
natural coat cleansing, right? And
Yeah.
it's going to have a shiny coat. And as you know, some Dobermans, they'll get dry skin because they only have one coat. So if they're out in the environment a lot, they'll get a dry coat. So you don't want to wash them or bathe them too much. You just want to bird bath them. So take a nice damp towel and wipe them down always. Every time especially if they're in the home, wipe them down all the time. Wipe their paws. But yeah, that gives them a nice. It saturates their skin, so they don't get flaky. So
Yeah.
that's just a little tip. Especially coconut oil. It's
You know
really
what
good.
I'm
Yeah.
doing right now while I'm talking to you?
Mm-hmm.
I'm buying some right now.
Spirulina.
Yeah, for the
Oh
so put
man,
it
it's
in the
so good.
dog foods.
Yeah, we buy a big old jar, and every time we get halfway through, we buy another big one from Amazon. And you have to once you use it, you got to keep it in the refrigerator.
Well, I'm getting a powdered kind.
That's it. It's the same thing.
It's got to be in
That's,
the refrigerator.
it has to be in the refrigerator. So don't store it once you open it. Don't store it outside. Store it in the refrigerator. Has to
Okay.
stay at a cool environment. Because
Now,
remember, it's algae. It's algae based.
yeah. What I So Anubius, the question for me, my answer would be, it depends on what stage of the dog. Like if they're puppies and I'm taping ears, the supplements I give them is additional calcium.
Mm-hmm.
And I do give them some probiotics mixed in the food because I'm developing these dogs.
Yep.
But when they're grown, the raw food is all the nutrients they really, really need.
Yeah.
But when it comes to these puppies and I'm trying to get these ears up, I got to give some supplement for that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, get a good base calcium with phosphorus because phosphorus is going to really help too, and you also get seaweed in it too. Seaweed is really good for the dog. So calcium with phosphorus, and then if it has seaweed as well, that's really good for them too. You know what I do, Gerald, which is really cool because I love eggs. I crack 3 or 4 eggs every morning. That's what I eat for my protein. I
I
keep
already know.
eggshells.
The
I keep the
shells, you crush them.
eggshells, and then I keep them stored, and then I take them in my little Ninja blender, and I crush them into a grind little powder, and then I just sprinkle a little over the dog, and that builds their bones. Especially if you're going to do like like hip and joint
Yeah.
supplements.
Yeah.
That kind of like takes the place of hip and joint supplements, where you can give them that type of egg based calcium. So that's really good for them.
People are chiming in now. They're asking questions and stuff. So Anubius had a question too. What's the ratio of additional calcium? So I try to do at least 500 to 1,000 milligrams of calcium powder every meal, and I'm mixing it with the raw. And I get my raw tripe from um, 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 I Feed Raw the Foundation out from Louisiana, Rich DeBerry, and I'm doing that. So I just eyeball it. There's no magic number. Mark, what do you think?
Yeah. So same thing with us. Again, as they're growing, because what we try to do, and Gerald really, gave me this tip way back in the day to start using that, because as your dog is teething, right at that age, the calcium that they already produce goes straight to their teeth. So you want to give them a little extra calcium base. So now you have a equal balance distribution to their ears and to their teeth. So when they're doing that within a specific certain time, probably within 2 weeks of that time, I will give them every other day. I really don't measure. I eyeball it too. I give them a little teaspoon of calcium,
Yeah.
right, on their food, and I'll feed that to them within 2 to maybe 3 weeks as they're we're building their ears, and as they're teething. So after that, don't try to give them any more, because if you continue with that calcium, what you're doing is you're building their bones.
Yeah.
And as you know, with large breed dogs, they start running into hip dysplasia and hip joint issues and things like that. So you don't want to build the bones too quick or too fast. Because if you ever seen, Gerald, and I've ran through this experience with especially Whiskey, and Bane had it too, his brother out in New York, where they start limping on one leg, right? And then they're fine. And then the next day they start limping on the other leg. And the next day they're fine. And like, what the hell is going on? So we had to take them to the vet, and this is how we learned. Because they start getting those growth spurts. And if anyone has dealt with that, you know that. You get these growth spurts, and their bones start aching a little. And they'll start limping on one leg, but then it transitions to the other leg. And it's normally in the back legs on their hips. So, but that's just a natural thing, but they're just growing too fast. So that's why I say don't try to give them too much calcium after a while, because what you're doing is you're just growing those bones too quick, and they may have to run into that. And it's not. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm only giving them calcium until them ears up, because you said it right. When their teeth are growing in, the grown teeth, they become calcium deficient.
Yep.
So I'm trying to make sure, but once them ears are up,
you're done.
I don't need to do that. Now it's all about building size and nurturing the muscles, giving him exercise, making his ass stretch out when he runs, because that's how he grows, building the chest out. And
and we don't start any supplements for hip and elbows or hip and joint until after a year.
Yeah,
we try not to give them any of those type of supplements until after a year.
Well, we're about to wrap it up. The hour is always a good time. Mark, I appreciate you chiming in. I appreciate for the folks who logged in at the last minute to hear us talk about dogs. This is what we love. We know it's work, but we don't call it work because we love what we do. As always, I say at the end of every podcast, stay resilient, but be responsible. Until next time.
Thank you.